Ronald McDonald was created in 1963 to be McDonald's very own mascot, and the first actor to play Ronald McDonald was a man named Willard Scott. Now, Willard Scott had actually been one of the actors to portray Bozo the Clown, and McDonald's asked for Willard Scott's help with creating what the clown should look like. And Willard Scott did just that. He designed the look of Ronald McDonald, and he actually played Ronald McDonald in about 3 adverts, if I'm not mistaken. But it's not the Ronald McDonald that we all know today. He looked somewhat different. I would say this version of Ronald McDonald was somewhat unsettling. He wore a tray of food upon his head that acted like a hat, I suppose. He had tufts of hair which were sprouting out from the corners, and he had a massive red smile upon his face, and it was painted on in such a way that it covered the entirety of his lower face. And for a nose, he had a paper cup, and he wore an outfit that had red and yellow stripes. Now, the first advert, as well as advertising McDonald's, was kind of like a strange introduction to Ronald McDonald. And at the end of the advert, he tells the kids watching to keep an eye out for him because he will be on TV more. And then he does a strange dance and the advert ends. Now, even though that advert wasn't meant to be creepy, it was a little bit creepy. I think it's probably just because it hasn't dated very well and the look of Ronald McDonald is so strange. But the second advert was even stranger. Now, as the second advert starts, Ronald McDonald is on his roller boots and he takes a stumble, and a little boy comes to help him up. But the little boy tells Ronald McDonald that he isn't allowed to talk to strangers, but Ronald tells him that his parents are correct. He mustn't talk to strangers, but he can talk to him, as he is the one and only Ronald McDonald. And to prove it, he gives the child 3 hamburgers that appear like magic. And then just like that, with a little bit of bribery from some McDonald's burgers, the child is convinced, and him and Ronald McDonald go off towards the restaurant together as the advert ends. It's got some very, very creepy undertones. It wasn't intended to be that way. They were trying to introduce Ronald McDonald as a friend to all children, but it just kind of didn't seem right. It just came across very, very creepy. And like I said, obviously it wasn't intended to be that way, and obviously times have changed now. I can't help but wonder whether it was creepy back in the day, but it most definitely is now. And of course, later the character of Ronald McDonald was modified to resemble the clown that we know today. The red-haired, white-faced clown with the big yellow suit and the big red boots. And of course, all of his friends were also introduced. Mayor McCheese, the Hamburglar, Grimace, Birdie the Early Bird, and the Fry Kids, who all live together in the fictional place of McDonaldland. Now, there are many people who find Ronald McDonald creepy. And to say that Ronald McDonald has always been creepy, I'm not sure is entirely true. Like I said, I never actually found him creepy as a child. I really, really wanted to meet him. He wasn't like other clowns, he was like your best friend. And I think it's safe to say that McDonald's successfully created a really popular character that was beloved by children around the world. Possibly even more than Bozo. In fact, it's been said that Ronald McDonald is just as recognisable as Santa Claus himself. He has appeared in many books, cartoon shows, and even his own video games, and even made a guest appearance in the movie Mac and Me, which probably wasn't his finest hour. But this was the pure power, the pure presence of Ronald McDonald back in the day. He was everywhere, and he was so recognisable, and in my memories, beloved by kids. I mean, okay, maybe some kids were scared of Ronald McDonald, but I don't think the majority were. And let's face it, if the kids were scared of Ronald McDonald, why would they purposely mould him in plastic and put him in their Happy Meals as a toy? They just wouldn't have done that, but they did. However, over the years, Ronald McDonald has been pushed out of the spotlight, with the company bosses claiming that the clown was not as effective as he once was. And McDonald's seems to have ditched the clown for a more healthier appearance after it was suggested that Ronald McDonald was an unethical choice when encouraging kids to eat fast food. In 2014, Ronald McDonald seemed to disappear from our TV sets, and by 2017, up until now, he has more or less vanished. Now, just by sheer coincidence, as I'm recording this, McDonald's are actually celebrating 50 years of business, and there's TV adverts on at the moment, and they've actually brought back some of the old characters like the Hamburglar and Grimace. But Ronald McDonald is nowhere to be seen. They've brought back all these, familiar faces, but Ronald McDonald is nowhere to be seen on this advert, which I find absolutely amazing. It was only a few days ago, myself and my daughter went into a McDonald's and we ordered our food, we sat down, and I was looking around the restaurant, and obviously because they're celebrating 50 years of business, they've got posters up on the wall and pictures up on the wall of the Hamburglar, of Grimace, of the other characters, but not one Ronald McDonald. The main reason for Ronald McDonald's disappearance was most likely down to a series of creepy clown sightings on street corners in 2016. People dressed as evil clowns started to appear on street corners or stood outside school buildings, not only in the US but also in Australia and the UK as well as other countries. Originally, the sightings started in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and it's now known that these sightings were all part of an advertising stunt to promote a new horror movie. But after the movie had come out and gone, the clowns remained, inspired by the initial sightings, sometimes holding weapons like knives. And I remember seeing one video of someone dressed as a clown stood in the middle of a lake, going that extra mile to scare the passers-by. And, quite understandably, people hated this, prank or not. Like I said before, the clown is an unpredictable character. You never know what they will do next. So to see a clown standing across the street, waving at you whilst holding a butcher's knife, I can imagine is a little bit unnerving. And people just didn't feel safe, because they may have bumped into a prankster, but how do they know they hadn't bumped into an actual serial killer who had actually decided to dress himself up as a clown and go on a murdering spree? I can understand why people were upset. And I remember kids and adults were told not to dress up as clowns at Halloween that year. And clown outfits seem to disappear from the costume shops. I mean, yeah, you can still find them online if you look hard enough. Well, if you just type it in, you'll find a clown outfit, but they disappeared from the shelves in the shops because it was, I believe they were more or less banned. It was a big thing. And in my opinion, this is most likely the main reason Ronald McDonald took a back seat and has never really made a comeback. You could call it the last nail in the coffin. Although, like I said before, McDonald's have chosen to bring back characters such as Grimace and the Hamburglar for the 50-year anniversary. Some clowns can look a little off, like the first few McDonald's adverts featuring Ronald McDonald. He was kind of creepy in those adverts, but the Ronald McDonald that came later with the red hair, the white face and the yellow jumpsuit, in my opinion, was not creepy the majority of the time. Just because I don't find Ronald McDonald creepy does not mean that you don't. I personally think the reason people fear clowns is down to the way they are portrayed in horror movies and the way it has been ingrained in our minds that clowns are just creepy. But if you look a little deeper, maybe you would enjoy a clown's performance. Good old-fashioned magic tricks, balloon animals, juggling, spinning plates, as well as the innocent silliness they bring to the table. As long as the clown is not intrusive and does not look like a nightmare carrying a butcher's knife, maybe we can all enjoy the art of the clown once again. Maybe.